So what is Daoism? Well, as a kid from Ohio, I used to think of Daoism as an Eastern religion. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I began to understand it as not a religion, but a philosophy. I got into Daoism after getting into this philosophy YouTube channel called Carefree Wanderer. They make videos about media theory and identity, and there's a couple about Daoism. After that, I ordered this book, which I found to be really insightful. So if you're at all interested in this, I would suggest you read the book because it's better than this video. Daoism, as I understand it, is mostly about living with ease. And the way you accomplish this is through the elimination of desire. But desire itself is not morally wrong in the Taoist perspective. This is not some analog for original sin. As I said, this isn't religion, it's philosophy. Even satiating desire is not considered wrong. In fact, the way that you usually remove desire is through satiating it. You get hungry, you eat, you're satiated, boom, no more desire. And so here's where the issue comes in, because if you're anything like me, sometimes you eat till you're full, and then you crave something sweet. So you decide to have a couple bites of ice cream to satiate the desire. But after a few bites, you only want more ice cream. In fact, you want it more than you originally did want ice cream, because now you have a taste for it. And so you eat a little bit more, but the desire only grows. And before you know it, you've gone through the whole pint and you feel kind of sick. Certain desires, when satiated, only create more desire. Therefore, they are insatiable. Not only that, but when you get into the pattern of constantly trying to satiate the desire for sugar, suddenly most foods become undesirable or boring or bland. Like if I start my day out by eating a donut, I spend the rest of the day craving more sugar and nothing else will do. So what can humans do about these insatiable desires, these addictions? Well, in chapter 63, the Lao Tzu suggests we taste the tasteless. But what does it mean to taste the tasteless? Let's get back to sugar for a second. If I don't eat sugar for a while, the desire for it begins to fade and I even stop thinking about it. Not only that, but other foods, healthier foods, begin to taste better. Not bland, but pleasurable. Like if I compare some carrots directly with a bowl of ice cream, it's no good. I'm taking the ice cream every time. But if I go without cookies and ice cream for a while, suddenly an apple is extremely pleasurable. That's because I've cultivated a taste for the tasteless. So you see, one does not abandon these desires in an effort to deprive themselves of pleasure, but rather we do so because it leads to a more pleasurable existence. You abandon desire to increase your pleasure. With sugar, you can never have enough and you always need more, and this never-ending cycle of desire and consumption leading to more desire and more consumption will definitely start to wear on your mental and physical health. But cultivating a taste for the tasteless is kind of an end, because there is no increasing desire for deeper levels of tastelessness. So obviously the Taoist text focuses on food, but you can apply this way of thinking easily to drugs. When you develop a taste for an addictive drug, you get less interested in the rest of your life. You derive less pleasure from everything else besides the drug. It kind of starts out with feelings like, well, I don't want to hang out with my friends unless I'm drinking, and I don't want to go to a movie unless I'm really high, or I can't get through work unless I'm at least a little buzzed. And this kind of thing can build until you don't want to do anything besides getting fucked up. And again, that's not morally wrong. After all, this would make total sense. If the drug was simply euphoric and the rest of your life was tedious and shitty, of course you're going to pick the drug. But the problem is the same as with sugar. It's an endless cycle of desire. And you start to develop a tolerance for pleasure, which means you need more and more of the drug, and still the pleasure keeps falling and falling away, which only makes you want more of the drug, which only makes the disappointment more palpable when you don't get the high anymore. And this just circles on and on endlessly. Whereas the taste for the tasteless, or sobriety, is an end, because you don't crave deeper levels of sobriety. When I was drinking and using drugs, I loved to use uppers because it made me feel alert and excited. But I also like to use downers because it made me feel relaxed and calm. So I would use an upper to come up, but then I would feel too anxious, so then I would use a downer to try to come down a little bit, and so on. I was constantly trying to balance out these two directions so as to find the perfect high. And after I got away from drugs for a while, I started to realize that I think that balance I was looking for was just sobriety. It was just the taste of the tasteless. And when you're sober, you do begin to derive pleasure from things that before you only got from the drug. Like you like to hang out with friends, and maybe you find that going for a hike and taking a hot shower is really nice, or a sunset looks really pretty. And maybe this feels kind of obvious to a lot of people, but when you're in the throes of addiction, this is anything but obvious. I remember when I first quit drinking, I went out to brunch with some friends, and it was like 11 a.m., and I noticed no one at the table was ordering drinks. And I was like, I can't order drinks because I'm an alcoholic. And so if I drink, I'm going to die. However, none of these people have a problem. So why aren't they ordering drinks? And so I asked them, like, why isn't anybody ordering drinks? And they looked at me like I was crazy. They clearly hadn't even considered getting drinks at 11 a.m. And it actually struck me as profound, where I realized I'm not allowed to drink at 11 a.m. because I want to drink at 11 a.m. They are allowed to drink at 11 a.m. because they don't want to drink at 11 a.m. So that's a quick video about what I think Daoism has to say about addiction. I'm going to put a link down to the book. It's definitely explained better in the book. So will Daoism help you get sober or stay sober? I don't know. It depends on you, and it depends on where you're at in your life. It's not self-help, it's philosophy. But it registers with me because it doesn't have that holier-than-thou, moralistic, puritanical approach to drugs and alcohol. Doing drugs isn't bad. Drinking isn't bad. It's just that addiction deprives you of the pleasures of life. And when you taste the tasteless, maybe you get to live with a little bit more ease.